Hello friends, welcome to Sew Calm Shop, or welcome back to Sew Calm Shop. If you want to sew with me as I sew, go ahead and pause the video and go grab yourself some fabric. I'm going to be working on this quilt, but it could be just anything, as simple as just a piece of an old sheet and some thread and a needle, and you can just play around. This is the idea of slow stitching, is just to have time to do something almost like an active meditation to calm your mind and create something beautiful and spend some quiet time. So go ahead and pause, and we'll be here when you get back. And just get, any piece of cloth, old sock that you can't find the match to, you know, a little rag of a towel, a t-shirt that's worn out, anything, and a little bit of thread. You can get as fancy as you'd like, but I have also shared on here before that you can pick up a little sewing kit from Walmart or Target, and even sometimes gas stations, for just a couple of dollars, and they'll have a couple of different colors of thread and a few needles. That's really all you need, because you can make something quite fancy and beautiful, but you can also just sew in a straight line and think of it like a journal or a sketchbook that, oops, that's not the kind of knot I want to do for this, that you're just doing it to have the calming experience. So come on back when you got what you want, and if you want to just watch because it's nice to watch, I sometimes do that too, so no pressure, but if you want to join, that would be lovely as well. And I'm starting us off with a bang, making mistakes to show you that this is not about being perfect. So the story I wanted to tell you is about just that. And I think it is amazing how much of us really do struggle with this perfectionism that so many people have found just is not what I was led to believe. I was led to believe that perfectionism was like something that was really positive. And it has been something that has not only created just personal stress, but I think it's also made it hard for me to have relationships, because it makes other people stressed too. And I now really consider myself a recovering perfectionist, and a big part of how I have learned that it was not helpful to my life is through something called DBT, Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. And it is an amazing, it's like a curriculum, I think is what you would call it, because it's a set of information that's broken down into life skills in 4 areas. The origin of it is that it's a mix of cognitive behavioral therapy and Zen Buddhism. And it's the Zen Buddhism part that really taught me about this concept called radical acceptance. So there's 4 modules of DBT, mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. And the idea is that it was designed for people who had been through a lot in childhood and really hadn't learned some of these like basic life skills. But I think it's really excellent for everyone, because even if you have had exposure to these, it's not, you know, these skills of like assertiveness and flexibility and acceptance and not being codependent are really not things that our culture encourages, but they are things that make lives way less dramatic. And so I feel really privileged that I got a chance to be a part of, to experience DBT. I took a class through an online class called DBT Path, like PATH, and it's led by someone who went through DBT herself, and she's just amazing. I did a DBT class with a therapist as well before I went to DBT Path, but I don't feel like that was as effective because it just felt like sort of like the therapist was like, you know, talking down to us and trying to like fix us, whereas in DBT Path, because the teacher Debbie has been through it herself, it's just so loving and gentle, and it changed my life. But why did I start talking about that? Oh, that's how I started learning about radical acceptance and like allowing myself to make mistakes and being a recovering perfectionist. So what I was going to share was that it was so nice this weekend. I went to my kiddo's soccer game, and I had brought some sewing, as I am now in the habit of doing. I have just a little bag, and I'll pop one of the things that I'm working on. And so I put that in, and I always carry this little cookie tin, you know, these little shortbread cookies that you can buy, with my pins and needles and thread. And I was sitting in my little chair on the side like all the other parents. And normally that can be a pretty stressful experience for me. Socially, I don't know any of these parents. My kid just joined a new team, and the other families have been playing together for like 3 years. So I was a little anxious about that. But also, I am divorced, and my kiddo's other mom and her current partner are always at the games, and that can be stressful for me too. So anyways, normally it's a pretty stressful experience for me, but I have been bringing sewing with me, and it has been so lovely, and I've had several nice conversations with other people, and one of the other parents came up and was like, oh, what are you working on? And they were like, I've always wanted to make a quilt, but it wasn't this that I was working on. It's another quilt that I've been not working on for a while, but I just happened to have it in my bag, and I was planning on doing something else, but then it was freezing. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going to put this on my legs even though it's not done. And then I ended up just working on it. So she was like, I can't believe you did it by hand. I've always been so intimidated by quilting. And I realized I think so many of us have avoided quilting in particular, because it has this reputation of being so complicated. And sure, you can definitely make a very complicated quilt that is like, elaborate and extremely challenging. But you can also make a super simple quilt. The one that I was working on that day, it happens to be hexagons, which is a little complicated. But this one that I'm working on here, this top that's not pieced together. I didn't like cut out those hearts. That's just printed onto the fabric. But the back is just really big squares, and it was so simple, and I just hand sewed them. And so I, cut out squares, and then I sewed a strip, and then sewed the strips together. And it's like, it's not perfect, and it's funky, and I don't think quilts are like supposed to be, one side's supposed to be just like a solid. But who made that roll up? And this was how I wanted to do it, because I wanted to use scraps. And I didn't want to like buy anything new for it. And so it's not perfect. And anyways, it was so nice to talk to this other parent about like letting go of perfectionism and just realizing that quilting is really pretty basic. If you can sew in a straight line, then not even in a straight line, in one direction. If you can sew in one direction, then you can quilt. And I would love for people to know that, because, so many of our grandparents were amazing quilters. And I know for me, I felt disconnected from that because I felt so intimidated by it. And my aunt told me once that there was really so many quilters, great grandmothers, and I think it's a lovely thing to be a part of, because we all have blankets on our beds, and having a little project is something that's so comforting. And when you think about the amount of time that you spend, by the time I'm done with this, I'll have spent hours and hours and hours, and it'll have all of my love and attention and energy, and that'll be so comforting, both for myself to cuddle up in it, and also for my kiddo, if he wants to someday. And whoever else comes across it, even if it ends up in a Goodwill, that someone will feel all of that love. And it's something that we can do that is more sustainable, and also more cost effective if you buy the fabric from one of the places used, like I did. This is from that place, Swanson's Fabrics, that I've mentioned before. It's just like swansonsfabrics.com, SWANSONS. And everything has been donated, and then you buy it for super cheap. I think I spent $5 on all of the fabric for all of this. And they have an online shop, so you can buy it online, but you can go to a thrift store and get old sheets, use any old clothes, from there. That's what a lot of our old quilts used to be, is just scraps of old clothes that were worn out, and so it's really something that can be so inexpensive, and can be something that can help you, have a quiet meditative activity, and help you socially if you're someone like me who needs that. and just help you pass time. You know, sometimes it's hard for me to just sit, and I get, because I have half of the week where my kiddo's with his other mom, I can get kind of lonely, and then I'll fill that with TV, and then I'll feel kind of like, ugh, icky after too much TV, and doing some sewing doesn't do that to me. So, as you can tell, I'm a big fan. Still haven't figured out how to put music on the videos. I keep seeing all these people's videos with beautiful music in the background. So, I am meeting with someone tomorrow, though, who knows a little bit about these things. So I'm hoping he could teach me some. What do you all like about sewing, or what kind of sewing are you working on lately? And does it help you with your perfectionism recovery, or do you find it stressful? I mean, I certainly can get like, oh, I did it wrong. But so far I'm doing much better with that, actually, than I ever used to be. Just keep reminding myself, like, no one's going to care about how perfectly this quilt was stitched. Certainly my kid is not. The only other person who's going to see it is me. I just got myself.
Okay, my friends. I think I've put myself to sleep. Hopefully you're feeling nice and sweet and calm too. That's the song I used to, well, I still hum to my kiddo. I spent so many hours humming that when he was a baby. All right. Sending you all lots of love.